Hi there, everybody. Welcome to the first breakdown of many. Today we're going to be going over Calls, which is the first song off of my EP, Yike. It came out about 2 months ago. It's a pretty fun song. It's pretty short, pretty simple for the most part, so hopefully this won't take too long. Let's get it. To start it off, let's start with these samples right here. And like this one. And then there's also
your call has been forwarded to an automatic voice message.
Call's been forwarded thing, and then all the little like extra noises in there from this pedal board.
Your call has been forwarded to an automatic voice message system 01.
So just a little bit of tape delay modulation, and that is that for the cell phone stuff. Next up is the synths. So we have this kind of pad synth that goes throughout the song. Sounds like this. Very pretty sounding. Here is the chorus. And then that part just repeats for the rest of the song and closes it out. Next up we have this muffle synth that has the same reverb and delay that I put on here, and then just a much different EQ that kind of just closes things off and, you know, makes it muffled. One thing that I forgot to mention on this first synth though is this Abbey Roads plugin. It just adds a little bit of saturation and some random noises just to make it sound more like an analog synth and just less perfect. I put that plugin on a bunch of stuff in this song and just in the project, and just in general I use it a ton just because it just adds a little bit more of that like graininess to it and just makes it feel more, I don't know, gritty and like just less, I guess it just makes it feel less like MIDI, essentially. But here's the muffle synth. Just pretty cool. And then there's also this little thing. It's very hard to hear. Here's it with the other synth. Then on top of that we got this hard lead synth. It's the same thing as the muffle lead, but more open EQ. That's really the only difference, and it just kind of emphasizes some of those moments where it's like going up right here. And then at the ending it actually doubles this guitar solo down here, but that sounds like this. With the guitar. You get the idea. I really like how the synths sound on this little EP. I pretty much just reused the same ones throughout it just to give it a very similar sound. But yeah, that's about it for that. The last little MIDI note thing would be this little piano outro arpeggio thing. After I recorded the vocals for the song, I was in like a little room with a piano. I was just kind of listening back, and then I just started playing this, and I was like, that would be cool to close it out. So threw this in there. It's not super present, but you can hear it if you listen for it. And then that pretty much just repeats with some like little varying notes here and there. I absolutely love that reverb at the end. I have to add that in. There's this one that is just kind of a moving space, and then there's this one which just adds more texture. But if you listen to it back, so there's that, and then it comes back as like a delay, and it just sounds so cool, especially at the end of the song when it's just kind of like sitting there with the little dial thing at the end. Next up, why not go to the acoustic guitar? Here's what it sounded like originally. Real muddy. Horrible recording. Oh, my bad. I clicked. Real bad. Horrible recording. But just with one EQ, really helped it a ton. I added another little EQ to add just a little bit more high end to it. I don't really know why I put it in a different EQ, but I did, and that made it sound like this. Then I wanted to make it a little bit wider, just because at this point in the song it's just very simple. It's a cell phone vibrating, a little synth thing here, and this guitar. So I want the guitar to really take up some space. So I add this spreader and then a stereo delay, just barely active, but it helps a ton with just like adding width to the guitar. Here it is just with that stuff added. Sounds a lot better in my opinion. Then the most important reverb right here. There's also like these little things just for like extra space and everything, but this is the big reverb. Just add some space. There's another Abbey Road plugin on here. And then there's also this split EQ, which it separates the transient and the tonal, which is actually just like magic. For the low end, I took out more of the transient, and then once it got higher up, I took out more of the tonal stuff, just to add some like percussiveness to it, but more on the high end, so it's not like or anything like that, and not interfering with the snare and kick and all that kind of stuff. So that's that acoustic guitar, and then there's these two, which are just paired up. They're the same thing. I just recorded them twice. These sound a lot thinner, just because I wanted to make more space as the bass is starting to really pick up here, and the vocal is as well, along with drums later on in the song. Since it's pan left and right, I took the spread off of there, and then I also took off the Abbey Road just to make it more of like a moment, and just to emphasize that it was wide one recording, and now it's wide in two recordings is my reasoning behind it. I don't know if that makes any sense, but here's what it sounds like. And then eventually it sounds like this. And then that just kind of repeats, and then there's like this little thing, which is just the same chords but like slowed down. Then we have our electric guitar. Now, for most of the songs that I've done in the past, especially on Lunar and other projects, I've just done DI. That's what I did for the bass here. But I got this big old Fender Twin Reverb amp, and I decided I wanted to try to do some live recording guitar. So all of the electric guitar has been recorded through that amp. I took this Blue Wave preset, and I just kind of took off the pedal board, amp, ring shift, messed with the compressor a little bit, and then threw a reverb bus on there. Since it was live guitar, I decided to add some pedals. I don't have a whole lot of pedals. I use this Space Echo pretty much on every guitar throughout this project, as well as this Caverns Reverb. Now this thing is maybe the love of my life, to be honest with you. Whoa! For the first half of this verse, it's on the spring reverb setting, so that sounds like this. But in the second half of the verse, I switched it to this shimmer setting right here. That's really cool. I don't know if you can see that at all, but it adds some like weird, like high-pitched harmonies in the back, and it's just like absolutely magical. So here's what it sounds like with that on it. Just some like kind of sounds that are really cool. And then with this lead, it's a very similar thing. The only difference with this lead guitar is that I turned on this tube amp mod that just adds some really cool distortion to it. This also has the shimmer on it, as well as another big old reverb that makes it real spacey. So here's what this sounds like. It's a real cool sounding. Then when it comes to the rhythm guitar here, it just kind of doubles up with these acoustics. And then as well as the like ending portion. And then for the outro, this is probably one of my favorite things that I did for this song. There's this space delay preset called Fading from View, and it sounds like this. Just magical, dude. That thing sounds so cool, especially with like this piano arpeggio, and there's just like this fading metallic thing like floating over your head, this spaced out bass. It sounds so cool. Then you add some groove with the drums. I absolutely love that. That's so cool. Last but not least, when it comes to the regular guitars, let's talk about this solo. I believe I kind of just took off the shimmer and just put it back to spring on the Caverns plugin, and then once again going crazy with the tube mod, and it sounds like this. So that's that in terms of the guitars. Now let's go with the bass. This bottom section is kind of just like a spaced out version of the bass with just like a much heavier reverb on there. Here's what it sounds like at the outro, which is probably my favorite part. My bass playing is so bad, but it's fun. Here's a little side chain compression that I did with like the kick that just kind of makes room for it. There's this bus, which is how I get such like a deep sound on the bass. There's this plug-in sub bass that adds just sub frequencies. Add a little bit EQ on there, and that is a good sounding spacey bass. Now, both of these are based off of the ambient bass preset, which I pretty much just took everything. I think I messed with the compression and the side chain, as well as adding the sub bass, are the only real changes I made. Here's my favorite part of the bass. This thing is so cool. Play with the drums. just so groovy. I love that so much. Another thing on the bass, it kind of just like emphasizes what the guitars and the vocal are doing, and the drums. And then here's the outro part of the bass, or not outro, but and then that, for the most part, just repeats. Let's talk about the drums. It's Bluebird preset. I threw Chromaverb on here just a little bit, and then I also threw this pedal board on here with some grit that just kind of makes a little bit more distorted. Then we have these outro drums, which are pretty much the same, but then I just changed the ratio of the reverb to make it a little bit more wet, a little bit less dry, and just more spacey in general. So here's like the switch between the two if we go like right here. So I pretty much use the Bluebird drums throughout the entire project, so that's nothing that's really going to change too much. Here's just some of the different grooves. You already heard the little stick click groove thing. Then there's this part. You just add in a little tambourine on the second half of the verse to add some tension, I guess. Then there's this part that just kind of emphasizes what the guitars and the vocal is doing, as well as the bass. And then once it drops into the second half of the chorus and most of the rest of the song, then you just kind of hang out on that ride with the tambourine in the back, and you just kind of rock out. That is pretty much it for the instrumental. Here's what it sounds like for like the last little part of the song. You know how the rest of that sounds. Let's get into the vocals. So we have a main vox, falsetto left, falsetto right, a backing vox with just kind of like harmonies and that kind of thing. And then we also have an octave lower. So for this one, here's what it sounds like without anything. Dark in here, my bed again. Oh, whoops, I forgot to take off the... There's a little space delay and pedal board here, another extra pedal board just to add some grit to it on buses. Then on the main chain we have a pitch corrector, some vocal doubling that doesn't really do too much, but it just adds a little bit of width to it, as well as with the stereo delay, but that's very, very low in the mix. But with that, it sounds like this. Dark in here, my bed again. And then we have this channel EQ and compressor, which just kind of gets rid of some of the low end. I really like the low end of my voice, especially on my ADK Vienna that I recorded this on. That microphone just sounds so good. But to make room for other instruments in the song, I had to kind of cut some of that stuff out, as well as just de-esser and some more EQ. This one adds some drive to the vocal. This one works the mids a little bit, and here's what it sounds like fully done. Dark in here, my bed again. I need something to get me out of it. Then my poster fell. Fun. Anyways, yeah, that's what it sounds like with that. And then we have our falsettos that are real mid, real bad. Falsettos are running through the same little bus thing, as well as just compressor and a basic EQ. The backing Vox with harmonies are also running through the same thing, as well as the octave low. Here's what the vocals sound like together at the end. Warning, it's loud because I was yelling. For and I just love how like fuzzy that weird little tape delay modulation thing again. Absolutely love that stuff. But I just love how fuzzy it gets. It's so cool. And last but not least, we have the little mastering chain, which is the same for all of these songs. There's Abbey Road again to just kind of bring everything together. This Fat FX, the compressor, bass enhancer, distortion, a little bit of limiting on the master, and a match EQ to kind of just blend it together and make it, sound professional. The only other thing is that there is a little channel EQ on a separate project where I kind of just boost the high a little bit, boost the low a little bit, cut some of the mids out just to make it more radio friendly, I guess. That is it. That is the whole song. That is Calls, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you enjoyed this little video. Before you go, absolutely huge shout out to Dayglow. He makes videos like this for his songs, and he's one of the biggest reasons why I got Logic and why I started making music in general. He's a huge inspiration to me. Please go check him out. Please go check out all of his breakdowns if you like stuff like this. I'm also planning to do more breakdowns for these songs on Yike and going back and doing the songs on Lunar as well. Just in case anybody is curious about that stuff. If you have any questions about this song or any of the other songs that I'm planning on covering, please comment them down below and I will try to answer them in the next video. Yeah, that's about it. I'll get out of here. See you next time.
Your call has been forwarded to an automatic voice message system. 01